Hello, everybody. Good to have you here with us. It's Wednesday, 9 p.m. here in Ireland, 10 p.m. in France, 11 p.m. in Lithuania, and 9 p.m. in UK as well. But it's 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock in Brazil. Yeah, it's good. It's great. So, um, today's topic is Spiritism and today's science. And in order to develop this discussion today, we could bring to you our friend Marcelo Saad, and he will talk to us very, very, uh, probably very, very deep about this topic. And if you allow me, let me read a little bit his bio. And then you guys you understand why we call him to talk about spiritism and science. So Marcelo Saad, he is MD, PhD, physician, board certified in rehabilitation medicine and acupuncture, doctor in rehabilitation sciences by the Federal University of São Paulo, current director of the Spiritist Medical Association of São Paulo, coordinator of research department at the Brazilian Spiritism Medical Association, co-founder of the Interfaith Coalition on Health and Spirituality. As an independent researcher, he is also engaged in events organizations, scientific publications, editorial collaborations with journals and books, technical lectures, and scholar tasks. His primary interest fields are religiosity in healthcare, anomalous phenomena of consciousness, and complementary spiritual therapies. So,
Salute.
I want to say welcome, Dr. Marcelo.
Thank
please.
you very much. Salute to everyone. Thank you for having me, and I hope to fulfill your expectations.
Great. So, Ms. Gibbons, good night.
Hello there. Hello, good evening, everyone. Today is a special day with this very special guest, a long-standing friend, I hope. And it's a very important subject because there's so much about Spiritism that's to do with science. And now this new field of research, extremely important for Spiritism to progress. And Marcelo is the cutting edge of this research, which is very interesting, and it's going to be wonderful for us to have him here. And it's always a pleasure to be together once again. The weeks go so fast, but it's always an hour of peace and harmony and discussion and learning, which I'm always very glad of. Boa tarde a todos. Sempre um prazer estar com vocês, especialmente hoje, num dia especial, que temos o Marcelo, nosso convidado, que vai falar sobre ciência, espiritismo, um campo novo de pesquisa, muito importante. E bem-vindo a todos, e que Jesus nos abençoe nesse trabalho. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. So, Labas, Nadja. Oh, I think they had a problem. So, Charles, bonsoir.
A minha internet está meio ruim, gente. Eu não sei. Vocês estão me ouvindo?
Sim. Yes, we can hear you. And okay. So, Nadja, while you fix your internet, let's say bonsoir to Charles.
Bonsoir Stevan, bonsoir à tous. Très heureux d'être ici, surtout avec notre invité spécial, Dr Marcelo Saad, que nous connaissons déjà depuis plusieurs congrès médecine et spiritualité qu'il a donnés dans le mouvement spirit francophone et partout en Europe, et qui vont apparemment reprendre l'an prochain, à notre grande satisfaction, et nous parler de ce thème fondamental pour le changement de paradigme, du paradigme matérialiste au paradigme spiritualiste de la science. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Very happy to be here again, in particular today with our brother Marcelo Saad, that we know already since a couple of medical spiritist association congresses throughout Europe. And I think he's really extremely knowledgeable and dedicated to talk to us about this question of spirituality and science, following the steps of our dear Marlène Noble, fighting, but with arguments, of course, for the change of paradigm from materialist, reducing paradigm to the enlarged spiritualist paradigm to foster the progress of science.
Merci. Now it's okay. Labas, Nadja.
Labas, I'm sorry. I was just listening my name or something, and then I was like, no, maybe I'm not. Internet. At least we have like a backup, you know. So, labas vakaras, laba diena, labas rytas. Šiandien mūsų svečias yra daktaras, fizinės reabilitacijos gydytojas, mokslininkas, spiritistas, daug žinių, daug straipsnių apie mediumizmą, apie spiritizmą, apie dvasingumą. Ir mūsų tema šiandien yra šiuolaikinis mokslas ir spiritizmas. Tikiuosi, kad jums bus labai įdomu, naudinga ir bus daug informacijos apie gyvenimą po mirties. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm sorry for the internet problems, but now we're back. And Dr. Marcelo, we have already spoken about him, so I'm sure you all enjoy the evening because a lot of information, a lot of scientific information that's nowadays very necessary. Not to prove that spirits exist, but to help you understand why and how spirits exist and are among us. So have a good night. Have a good video. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nadja. So everybody introduce yourself. And now, today we don't have our video because we want to give more time to Marcelo explain today's topic. So I will just project here your deck, Marcelo.
Okay.
I think everybody can see. You are under control of this. So for everyone, after the presentation, Marcelo will answer all the questions if the time allow us. But if you have any questions later, we'll give you Marcelo contact at the end, and you can ask your questions. You can iron out any doubt you may have. So, Marcelo, thank you for joining us. Break a leg, my friend.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you for the interest in this subject. I will present today the Spiritism and the Science today. I represent here the Spiritist Medical Association of São Paulo, Brazil, and I hope you enjoy the theme. Also, I congratulate the organizers of this sequence of events, and I hope to collaborate at your standards. We will pass in this presentation through these topics. We will talk about the anomalous phenomena of consciousness, and later the science crawling towards the spirit, and the spiritist principles that can fulfill the gaps in the scientific knowledge, and how to go towards a lay model of the spirit. I start here highlighting some anomalous phenomena of consciousness. For the last 150 years, they are reported occasionally but regularly, and growing in amount in the scientific literature. Studies with robust methodology in high indexed peer-reviewed scientific journals report this anomalous phenomena of consciousness, and these findings cannot be explained promptly by the fraud, hallucination, chance, or other methodological faults. And we will highlight mainly the anomalous information reception phenomenon, that is the mediumship, the memories of past lives, the near-death experiences, and the end-of-life experiences. Starting with the mediumship, or also call it anomalous information reception. The materialistic perspective on mediumship is very square, because they say the information gathered by mediumship could be got by the so-called medium through hot reading or cold reading. The hot reading is the previous research of information on internet, for example, and the cold reading would be the vision of the attitudes and posture and words from the proxy, the relative of the deceased person. And together with some probabilistic guesses, he would ensemble a narrative with some data that would satisfy the proxy, the relative. But what remains unexplained by the materialistic model is that some information that could not be at the reach of the medium through traditional, conventional means, this information is given by the medium, and he would not be able to get it even when he have not contact with the relative, and when the relative is confounded by some different letters, and he can make a score for the letter that best fits the personality of the deceased relative. The other phenomenon is the memories of past lives. The materialistic perspective, when some children mainly recall some characteristics of another persona, another name, another place, and talk about it, is explained by a mix of coincidence of the data and some fantasy, and eventually the knowledge of this data by some conventional means, and the call for attention, secondary gains for talking this story. But what remains unexplained is that some researchers take these histories, and they check the veracity of the reports of the children, and they confirm places, people, sometimes 1,000 kilometers from this village in the south Southeast Asia, mainly in Asia, but also it happens in our Western society. In this village, mainly, they don't have access to information, that they don't have even water in houses, and they have not internet also. They could not have this information. And eventually the children has the same habits and the same phobias, with eventually some birthmarks from the past persona that coincides with injuries in this supposed past persona. And this is verified by the researchers. The near-death experiences is deemed by the materialistic perspective as hallucination, right? When a person has a cardiac arrest, for example, and in this period, sometimes also declared dead, the person report when resuscitated some experiences, sounds, lights, and the witnessing of some events. And the materialistic perspective put it in account of hallucination and probabilistic guesses of what would happen in every resuscitation. But the brain chemistry would produce these experiences of light, sounds, and the feeling of warming, and etc. But okay, que eu fiz aqui? Pronto. What remains unexplained is some reports, a few reports, but true reports of events that happened when the brain of the patient was turned out, and he could not witness or remember these happenings because the neurological system was out. And the memories are vivid and lucid, that are very different from hallucinations. And this puts embarrassment to the materialistic perspective. And the end-of-life experiences includes the vision of dead people in the dead bed. The patient is bedridden in the end of his life, and he see some deceased personalities, and sometimes this dementia would produce this hallucination in this materialistic perspective. However, it does not explain the phenomena of seeing people that nobody knows it was dead. The person die, the patient in question don't know this person died, and also the family doesn't know it, and the patient see this visit of this person. And also there's a phenomenon that cannot be explained by the materialistic perspective, that is the paradoxical lucidity, when a patient with a permanently damaged brain, with persistent dementia, suddenly the patient rises, his level of consciousness, the patient talk, the patient chat, very lucid, and it happens some hours or days before the death of the patient, showing that the mind is not directly linked to the brain, because the brain is damaged here and could not produce the consciousness the patient is showing. Now, we will talk this process of science crawling towards the concept of the spirit. During most of human history, the concept of the spirit was directly linked to religion. And in our Western culture, the accounts of the spirit comes from the Bible, and we understand God created the spirit, and the destiny of the spirits are the hell or the heaven, and all things that we learn from the biblical concepts. But since the mid of the 19th century, the concept of the spirit was not directly linked no longer to religion. In this epoch, in the United Kingdom, we witnessed the creation of the Society for Psychical Research, with scientists looking for explanations for spiritual phenomena. And in this epoch also surged the Spiritism, and journals with scientific interest in parapsychology. And even today, this is a master thesis of our colleague, Dr. Jorge Daher Jr. from Brazil. He raised all the literature. She reviewed all the literature talking about the spiritual phenomena, indicating the possibility of the mind independent of the brain. And he reported this literature is growing up, is piling up, and the scientific interest is growing without any linkage to religion. So the spirit is an emergent concept in science, and this is an idea explored by a growing number of researchers, but without the name of spirit. They use different names, such as the brain independent consciousness, or mind independent of the brain, the non-local mind, in a comparison with concepts of the quantum mechanics, the non-ordinary mental expressions, the anomalous phenomena of consciousness, and other generic forms to refer to what we understand as the spirit. However, the scientific demonstration of the spirit by the current scientific method may be improbable, because the scientific tools today could not prove the existence of the spirit directly, because the nature of the spirit is not compatible with the current research tools. We have measurement tools that use electromagnetic measurements, and the spirit is not related. The spirit nature is not related probably with the electromagnetic waves. And the spiritual phenomena are very unpredictable and irregular, so you cannot study it in a regular basis in a controlled environment. And thus only indirect demonstration of the spirit can be made by the phenomena we cited here. The scientific method includes the observation of a phenomenon, creation of an hypothesis, prediction of an experiment, the execution of the experiment, and the conclusion. and the experiment is impossible because these factors I cited. But indirect evidence of the extracerebral intelligence may be got by some cases like this one of some colleagues here in Brazil. These colleagues in this publication explored the work of André Luiz, and in this work, in several books, they found citations to important functions of the pineal gland. In that epoch, in the 40s, the pineal gland was an unimportant structure for science. They relied this gland to no important function. So there was a contradiction between what Chico Xavier wrote, told by André Luiz, and what scientific know at that epoch. However, some years later, the melatonin was discovered, and the functions of this molecule that is produced by the pineal gland was described, and they are coincident with the descriptions of André Luiz. So André Luiz was right by describing these functions of the pineal gland, but he did not use the term melatonin because this was unknown by our science. This shows a sort of extracerebral intelligence and the contact with reality beyond the scientific knowledge. So how can we form a secular, non-religious model of the spirit? The suggestion we make here is to putting together the few pieces available, the phenomena that we describe it, and we would guess how would be the pieces that are missing in this puzzle, and we can idealize how they would fit together in a coherent model that could be accepted by science. And here enters the Spiritism, because many Spiritist dictates can fulfill these gaps in the scientific knowledge to form this lay model of the spirit. Kardec made an empirical investigation using the scientific method of his time. He used the methodology, the researchers and the naturalists. In that epoch, I don't know if they were called scientists. They were called at that time naturalists, because they explored empirically the phenomena and found explanations. And Kardec did this process. And his process aimed to obtain reliable information, eliminating any inconsistency. He systematically recorded the information and put it together to make sense and form it a structured doctrine. And at least three reasons make us suggest that the Spiritism could be a good starting point to explain how the spirit could be. The first one is the pragmatism and objectivity that called the attention of dozens of erudites and scholars at that epoch and later, including Victor Hugo, Ernesto Bozano, Camille Flammarion, etc. Scientists, people from the academia, from the universities, and artists, all these people with high education was interested by Spiritism. The second reason is that Spiritism overcame the barriers that separate science, philosophy, and religion, because these three disciplines normally we study in a multidisciplinary way. We put they side by side, listen what each one has to bring us, but we don't mix them. This is a multidisciplinary approach. And Kardec made an interdisciplinary approach, mixing all the information to create a coherent structure that could function in a new way. And Spiritism inspired the creation of associations to explore the civil applications of Spiritism, such as the Spiritist Medical Association that I represent, that was founded in 1968, the Association of the Spiritist Psychologists, and many others that are here in Brazil, exploring how to apply scientific knowledge of today and the Spiritism. The transcendence to understand science, philosophy, and religion that Spiritism brought us is this evolution from a multidisciplinary approach to an interdisciplinary approach, because we are used to study these disciplines in a separate field, each one showing some issue of the nature. But with the Spiritism, in this interdisciplinary approach, we broke the barriers between these disciplines and can find that all they are manifestations of the nature, and they comes from a same source. And this is the invitation of the Spiritism, to see the nature, to see the what is a human person. And these are some Spiritist principles that can fulfill the gaps in the scientific knowledge and explain the phenomena we cited before. The first concept is that the spirit is the individuality, the immaterial essence, the source of the mind, in an ethereal condition that we cannot access directly. The soul is an incarnated spirit with many of subtle potentialities blocked. In the incarnated condition, the spirit has another name, is soul, because some properties of the spiritual nature are blocked by the matter of the body. The spirits are all around us, constantly exchanging elements with us, exchanging information, exchanging energy, fluids, and etc. This is a constant exchange, and we are in the spiritual realm. It's different to think the spiritual realm is surrounding us. We are in this realm. We are part of this realm. And some distinguished people can receive a completely mediumnic message. People with some sensibility can bring this contact to a useful exchange of information. And after that, the spirit retain its individuality and the knowledge acquired in that incarnation. And later, the spirits must go through many incarnations toward perfections. And we here explain all the four phenomena. We explain the mediumship, we explain the near-death experiences and the end-of-life experiences, and we explain the memories of past lives. This is how Spiritism can fill the gaps. The mediumship can be explained this way. Although all we have some sensitivity, certain people can interact deeper with spirits and convey a complete message. This is natural. This is just an exacerbation of a natural capacity. The memories of past lives. Normally, the incarnation blocks the memories of previous lives. This is how things work. This is the natural way. But in some cases, in some people, we don't know exactly how, some memories can be accessed by the mind, and the children, generally the children, can report these memories. The near-death experiences. In critical clinical situations, the linkage between the body and the soul may be weakened, and the mind could experience the spiritual realm. And finally, in the end-of-life experiences, in this devitalized body near death, the weaker constraints of matter may allow some freedom for the soul. The difference between the near-death experiences and the end-of-life experiences is that the near-death is in a full, healthy person that acutely has this contact with the spiritual realm, and in the end-of-life experiences, in a chronic condition, this body decaying can open the mind to the spiritual realm. To form this coherent flux, we need first the fact that is a statement after an experiment or observation confirmed several times. From the fact or the facts, we can make an hypothesis that is a testable, data-based assumption to explain the fact, and we can evaluate to a theory that is an explanation of the facts supported by confirmed hypothesis. In the case of the spirit, we have the facts we already extensively cited. The hypothesis we made based on Spiritist information is that the spirit is the immaterial essence, the source of the mind that survives death and keeps its individuality and probably reincarnate. Let's give the benefit of the doubt, but we know the reincarnation is a natural law. And the theory is the Spiritism, presented in a coherent way, in an ordinated discipline, is following the scientific method at that epoch. To evaluate towards a lay model of the spirit that could be accepted by science, we have to evaluate from the vision of the Spiritism. We have to present it in another way to science and for the scholar scientists. We are used to see the Spiritism over this tripod of science, philosophy, and religion. But we have to give up the religion, at least for the dialogue with science, to increase the acceptation. But we are not obligated to deformate Spiritism. We can replace the word religion for some other word, such as reconnection. And this is not the denial of the principles of the Spiritism, because the religion comes from the term religare of the Latin, that means to link us again to ourselves, to others, to nature, and the creative process. Thus, the word religion itself can repel the erudites, the scholars, to a lay discussion. And we just made simple replace. We can avoid the refutation a priori from these scientists. And according to Kardec, Spiritism is not a religion, as is stated in two books. The first one is the Spiritism Easily Explained by Kardec, and these are clipped excerpts from this test. Kardec told Spiritism is not religion. It has no cults, no priests, no temples. Spiritism has fundamentals of religions, such as the concept of God, the soul, the immortality, etc. It questions certain beliefs, the eternal penalties, the persona of the devil, etc. And Spiritism brings back faith by giving rational explanation to dogmas. Spiritism, at the same time, is not religion, but it increases faith. This may seem paradoxical, but is coherent according to these affirmations of Kardec. Another book is What is Spiritism, in which Kardec says, it was the church that proclaimed Spiritism a new religion. Spiritism has the character of science, as it has adherents of all faiths. So if Spiritism were a religion, it would not have adherents of all faiths. We are not atheists, but that doesn't mean we are religious. God's name is used because nothing is done without his permission. So in the meetings and the reunions of Spiritism, in the opening, we mention the name of God because it is necessary, because nothing happens without the God will. This is not a religious ritual. So, if we put together the phenomena we observe that is undeniable, and the tenets from the Spiritism, we can make a coherent model of the spirit to be presented for science. Please note that this model has place for more pieces. This is not a finished model, but is a set coherent with the pieces we have today. But also important for us Spiritists, it's to limitate the discussion with this people to what interests for us and for the progress of the knowledge of the spirit. Because adopting this spiritual model doesn't mean as a synonym of accepting all the Spiritism, because Spiritism have many other pieces that can confound some scholars, some scientists, and can pollute this discussion about the lay model of the spirit. We have descriptions in the Spiritism about God, the creation, the ineffable spiritual nature, the moral lessons from the Gospels. We don't have to stay in the moral lessons from the Gospels as it reflects all the reality, because if we do so, we exclude 3/4 of the humankind that has no the Gospels as their source of spiritual knowledge. The origin and destinations of the spirits, the life in other worlds. We can leave all this discussion for later. Okay, so if we bring just this concepts of the Spiritism, forming this spiritual model, we can conquer hearts and minds of the scientists. If we bring all the pieces of the Spiritism, we can pollute the discussion with things that can be rejected by these people a priori. Important in this process to state that Spiritism is not intended to replace the materialistic model, but rather complement it. We rely on the conquerors of chemistry, physics, and biology, but we are expanding the human knowledge and the human nature and the nature of the very universe. And Spiritism is not intended to invalidate some religious beliefs, but rather to expand them. We are not intended to offend sensibilities. We want to open a discussion about what is the deep nature of the human being. So, the impartial skeptics and the progressive theologians are welcome to an open-minded dialogue to form this universally accepted model of the spirit. Even so, we have to deal with some barriers, such as this book, Spiritism, the Modern Satanism, that states the repudiation of one of the truths of Christianity results in the denial of all. If we deny the resuscitation in the Armageddon and replace it by reincarnation, we would destroy all the Christianity. To tear the cornerstone out of the arch is to cause the entire building to topple. Christianity has to be accepted, has to be taken at its entirety, or must not be. We can refutate all these affirmations, saying that Spiritism is not a religion, and we are not intended to destroy Christianity, but use knowledge from the Christianity together with the knowledge of the science to understand the man, the nature, and the universe. As a final reflection, let's make an exercise. What of these objects are matter for scientific interest. The pot of gold and the end of the rainbow, the existence of Santa Claus, and the existence of the spirit. For a dogmatic, materialistic thinker, all of them are equal. All of them are fantasies, and they are out of the scientific field and cannot be studied scientifically. However, they have many differences. The pot of gold at the end of the rainbow has a wrong premise because the rainbow is a circle due to the Earth circumference. So, this circle does not touch the ground. There is no end of a rainbow, thus, the premise is wrong. The existence of Santa Claus, there's not a fact observed. If we observe it, gifts appearing in the houses, of the homes, mysteriously once a year, this was a this would be a fact that have to be studied and hypotheses have to be created, but we do not observe it. Is different from the hypothesis of the spirit because we observe facts related to this hypothesis. All the phenomena we cited before. So, in short, we are proposing that Spiritism can be a starting point to discuss how the spirit could be in a non-religious model, but this model should be refined in order to be more acceptable to scientists and scholars and academics. This is the message I brought to you. I thank you for the interest. Once again, thank you for the invitation and congratulations for the organizers. I remain available in this way of contact here, and I give to you the word again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marcelo. Thank you very much. I will put as a promise in our chat here your contact, and I will ask to everyone to contact you directly. Okay.
My pleasure.
It's done.
My pleasure.
Yeah, because we are about 7 minutes to finish. But it was very interesting, very good. Thank you for the clarification. And I would say, Charles, do you have any comments, my friend?
No, I think I just want to congratulate Marcelo for this outstanding presentation. Really, I think the multiplication of number of papers in science magazine and so on shows that there is a growing interest in it. There are already some applications showing positive results, in particular in the medical and psychiatric area. This has been also thoroughly demonstrated. So I think we have here all the ingredients, to induce this change of paradigm. And I would just maybe recall Umberto. He came some weeks ago, talked to us about this science of life after death. The books that have been published has been published recently, which is also showing with the very strong philosophical and scientific arguments that the materialistic paradigm is inconsistent and not based on any demonstration or whatever. It's just sometimes pure denial or a priori dogmatic approach, which is anti-scientific. So I think really now we are coming closer, and of course it's time to go more in details in the models for the new paradigm, building it. And this is why I really congratulate Marcelo for this presentation.
My pleasure.
Okay, good. And Nadja, do you have any comments?
Thank you very much for your presentation. It was great and very, I think, complete actually, because it involves all aspects of the modern science and what the spiritists are, researching. I don't know if Silvia has any questions. Do you have any questions, Silvia, or should I just go with that?
No, you can if you want to. I would have a question, but we will not have the time.
Yeah, no, that's why.
But
If you
before
have
our
a
next,
question, then it's
no,
okay,
because
then
we don't have the
I think
time,
it's-
and I can talk to Marcelo later, and I have to do some research myself. But go on, because I know you were keen to ask him things.
No, I was just trying
Everybody
to
is.
yeah.
Everybody
It's
is.
just because we have a so short time, and we want just to continue, the discussion, because it's a scientific discussion is very. It's always interesting. It's. I think that's what we. How we can, put spiritism to the front, like how, because we all know that spirits exist. We all talk about souls, and now film about souls, and so many films about life after death, or even near-death experiences, and I know that not so many people know Sonia Rinaldi. No? Is it okay? Not. I'm sorry. Just because my internet is not working very well, so I'm not. It's freezing here. Sorry. I think Sonia Rinaldi is also researching for over 30 years about the instrumental transcommunication. So it's another form of communicating with spirits, or how the spirits communicate with us. I think it's very interesting to know that the scientists don't believe. Many of them don't believe, but I think it's, as we were just saying, is I think a little bit of extremism, and in any case, of course, a religion or science and extremism is always a block to an open-minded discussion. But I think my question would be like, what would be the most challenging aspect of researching the existence of the spirit, and if there is any areas of any what the scientific field would be coming close to unraveling the existence of spirits.
Yeah, we deal mainly with the obstacles that are the prejudice and ignorance. Ignorance has cure. The cure is called information, and we make this information arrive to these people, and we can bring them together to us. The prejudice, unfortunately, has not a cure, and maybe we have to deal with this detractors, and to wait the time for the paradigm to shift, and hoping this would be in our lifetime.
This doesn't remind you that I think there is a quote from Schopenhauer that he says that a theory is going to be, first of all, completely destroyed as madness, and then will be something, and then eventually be received as true. And I think it is very much into the situation we find ourselves, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess this quotation is people will attack you, first ridiculing you,
Yes.
secondly finding
dismiss,
errors,
and
and
then
finally the
accept
truth
as
will
true,
prevail. Yeah.
as if it's always been true. And I think this is very much the situation we are now, because I think we had the thing last week, and we said, I don't believe because I can't see it. This is not a premise is any longer accepted, because there are science now can't see any of the things or the main theories that is taking physics ahead. Isn't it? Most of the scientists now is completely theoretical and is very much in the fields. And if you read some of the André Luiz books carefully, it's all there. Or even in Kardec, but especially in André Luiz, because there's so many explanations of it. And you find yourself, oh, you can't see it, but you can't see so many things. And it's true, it's completely being accepted now, this theory. So I think this shift of paradigm that Charles was saying, we're beginning to live this already, isn't it? It's the beginning of a turn. And those who accept, and those who don't accept are going to be left behind. And that's all there is to it, I think.
Yes. The X-rays has the name X because they were an incognite. They were mysterious. That was something that they didn't fit in any standard of the physics of that epoch. So they called it X-rays. And we understand they now and use it in medicine and other applications.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, you've gone so far beyond X-rays now.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I find that it's a very exciting time to be alive, to be researching this, because and to already know, I think the field that, I think as a spiritist, we don't know, we have the certainty that we know about the spirit, the world, there is this space out there, and everything is a reality, and people, taking sometimes different times to catch on, but also to do the research and to learn more. It's very, very important for us. But most of all, I think, you said something about, but the behavior as well, the acceptance, because I think you mentioned something about the Dalai Lama, and in his book, Beyond Religion, is exactly the premises that Spiritism put forward. You accept people, whether they believe in a faith, whether they don't have a faith at all, but it's a question of a common humanity, that we are all here living the same life, the same difficulties and the same joys. And I think this is very important in opening up the discussion in Spiritism and as a religion or non-religion. It is irrelevant, isn't it? You don't need a religion to be spiritual. That's the premise that the Dalai Lama put, and that's what we say.
Mm-hmm.
We have a spiritual life, even people who don't believe. So,
yes, this is also a call to use the moral teachings of the Gospels as a starting point to find out all the universal values of the humanity. Because if you rely only in the Gospels, as I said, you exclude automatically 3/4 of the humanity.
yes, I suppose in a way, if you say something, I just follow the Gospels, but if we take the premises of what is in the Gospels, is universal, is love God, love your neighbors yourself, because if you think about the teachings of Jesus, he resumed it himself, isn't it? Love your neighbors yourself, believe in God, and love your neighbors yourself, and treat others the way you want to be treated. This is universal. This is not just the Gospels. You find it in any religion, as going back as
They
far
are
back as we can go.
the Gospels are the perfect starting point to find the human values that can be universally understood. Yes.
Okay, my friends. So thank you very much. We are over time. Charles, you want to say something to wrap up?
No.
Okay. So we had a lot of comments here, but unfortunately, my friends, because of the time, I cannot read. If I read one, I will be unfair with the others. So I will not read any comment here. But I want to say thank you for Nancy Valente, Camille Brilla, let me see, our friend Rodrigo Ortega, Marco Davis, so Beatriz Guiles, Nancy Valente. So thank you very much for all your comments. And let me go to our announcements. So next week we have the topic forgetfulness of the past. So don't miss it. It's next Wednesday, 9 p.m. Every other Tuesday, we do have our conversations on mediumship with Guilherme Dias and Rafael Caldas at 7:30 p.m. London time. Every Saturday, 10:30 a.m., we do have the online course, The Medium's Book with Guilherme Dias, Munir Gariba, and Charles Kempf. Also, every other Tuesday, study of the book Nosso Lar with the Spiritism Society of London. It is not on Facebook and YouTube, but it's a Zoom meeting, and the Zoom details, it's popping up on your screen right now. Every Wednesday, 4 p.m., we have a coffee break with Kardec, guided by Munir Gariba. And if you want to help two institutions in Brazil, one is Grupo Sheila in Salvador, the other one is Instituto Mutirão in Curitiba. Please go to www.kardec.org.uk/high5 and send your donation to them. And with this, thank you very much, my friends. Thank you, Marcelo, for your time. Thank you, Nadja. Thank you, Silvia. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you
Bye.
all. Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you.
To have you all here with us. Thank you.
Thank
I'll see you
Next
next
time,
week.
Marcelo, we have 2 hours.
Yeah.
Next time you come, we have a 2-hour meeting.
Yeah, please write me if you have other comments or questions, please.
Okay, we'll do.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
God
Bye.
bless. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.